In James chapter 4, verse 6, we have the quotation of Proverbs chapter 33, the one that we just saw. In verse 6 it says, but he gives greater grace. Metzona, this is the comparative. The comparative of megas. Metzona, greater. He gives greater, and then charim, grace. Therefore he says, Hotheos, God, antitasetai, makes war against the huperphanos, the arrogant, the proud. God makes war against the arrogant. There, but he gives grace, didosin, charim, he gives grace to the humble. These are the humble ones inside of a system. For the divine powers, there is a system of thinking based on humility. Verse 7 then says, submit yourselves then to God. One of the words for these is one of subordination. Submit, subordinate, hupotasso. Therefore, submit yourselves to the authority of God. And how do you submit yourself to God? By going around and saying, God is my God, he is my king, and I submit to him, and I do everything. No, you submit yourself to him by getting in the system. Every time that you sin, you acknowledge that you have sinned. You just name it. Not by feeling guilty or beating your chest, just name it. And you're back in the system, and you've achieved the first part as a believer, the first part of subordinating to him by getting back in the system. And then you advance by means of the daily learning of Bible doctrine. You acquire Christ's thinking as you're learning, and he becomes pleased on a daily basis by you. It's all grace. Don't add anything to it. He's going to require some obedience from you in different areas later on. He's going to require some Christian service from you later on, but don't push it. It says, therefore, be subordinated to him. Resist, antistete, resist, and then the devil, to diabolo, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. This is a gnomic future tense of feugo, feuxestai. Gnomic present future, meaning that this is a timeless fact, that every time you resist and resist and resist because you're using divine power, he flees away from you. When someone is going against you, a human, say that in a real physical fight, or say that a person is really trying to rage bait you or trying to make you react, etc. And he's using everything that he has. He finally comes back at you with one of his moves, the one that he's very confident about, and it does not work. So what is the best thing he can do thereafter if he's already acknowledges is that he's used up all his moves, even the best ones? Well, the best thing you can do is flee. He just leaves. Nothing's working to his favor. None of his schemes, none of his little tricks are working. And so he flees. Satan on this hand, and in this case, he flees because you're using divine power. He flees away from you. And then verse 8, part of submission is draw near, engisate, and then dative of advantage to God. And consequently, he will draw near to you. Okay, that's James 4:7. The quotation of Proverbs chapter 33 appears also in 1 Peter chapter 5, verses 5 to 6. And it says, in the same way, comparative novices, neoteroi, you who are younger. Is he talking to youngsters? No, he's talking to those under authority. This is those who are younger versus the elders. Are we supposed to submit to just all the elders that we find? No, not at all, even though we must treat them with respect. Older people. This is not the way it's using it. It's using it in terms of authority. The younger ones are the ones who are learning Bible doctrine. The elders are the pastor, teachers, the leader, the one who has the authority over the local church. By the way, there's no plurality of elders, of having all these elders in the churches as part of the governing board. You see it in all these churches. You see the two split of deacons and elders, and then on top you have the pastors. This is not what the Bible is talking about. The elders are pastors. And nothing requires you to have a multiplicity of pastors, of elders. So there's the pastor on top, and then there's his deacons on the bottom. Well, let me not go and talk about the system of governing in the church, but elders, it does mean pastor. So submit yourselves to your elders. That word hupotasso appears here. So submit, subordinate yourself to presbyteros, your elders. All of you, clothe yourselves with humility? No, that is not the correct translation. It says, all of you fasten yourselves. With, what is it? With what? Grace thinking. Well, yeah, humility. Humility and grace thinking go together for us who are advancing in the plan of God. For you cannot accept God's grace without being humble. How can you just possibly just say, okay, it's all about God's grace, He does all the work, I just receive? That requires humility. The opposite, arrogance, it cannot accept God's grace. Arrogance wants to go ahead and do this and do that. He wants to use his human solution there, human solution here, and he cannot possibly just relax and receive from God's grace provision. So humility and grace are compatible. In order for you to exploit and increase grace, you must be very humility and very, very humble, and therefore we call that grace orientation. Do you see why this can be translated grace orientation? I'll write it down right now with some little drawings. So, all of you fasten yourselves to each other with humility, with grace orientation, toward one another. What does this mean? We have to, whenever you walk into the local church, you better be in fellowship. You better play grace orientation towards other people, and not malign them, not give them the eye, make them feel uncomfortable, trying to stare at them so that you can make them feel uncomfortable like the ladies do when they get mad. They just stare and give them that leer, which is ridiculous. Ladies who are believers should snap out of this and stop being so scared of the stupid looks. What can they do to you with a stupid, dumb look? You're in the plan of God. Ask God to give a punishment to that person who's giving you the leer, is not leaving you alone. Ask God, administer some punishment to this person, and just watch how He does give punitive action, some punishment to that person. Okay, so here is grace orientation towards one another in the local church so that everyone can have the freedom to study comfortably. There are already too many pressures in life, at work, with the family, in the home. The last thing that you need is to walk into the local church and there to be more problems with this person who's getting cattywampus with you, with this other person here, this person who wants your attention. So, the job of every believer is to clothe themselves or fasten themselves with grace orientation towards one another, and the job of the pastor is to make sure that they are doing so and kick out without mercy the one who is intruding upon the privacy of other people. So, all of you, fasten yourselves with humility to one another, because, now the quote from Proverbs chapter 3, God makes war against the arrogant, but gives grace to the humble. He gives grace to the humble. Okay, and then it says in verse 6, another word for submission, for authority. Look, tapeinotete. So this whole time when you saw humble, it's that word tapeinos, but here's tapein frosune. It means humble thinking, grace orientation. And now this one here, humble yourselves, is the aorist passive imperative of tapeinoo. So the aorist tense is the consecutive aorist, collecting into one entirety, you humbling yourselves under God's ruling hand. And how do you do so? By using 1 John 1:9 and learning Bible doctrine, then applying the 10 problem-solving devices. The passive voice, you allow yourself to be humbled. So therefore, allow yourself to be humbled. Get yourself humbled. And the imperative mood of this is an order. Humility is a mandate in the Word of God. So therefore, humble yourselves or become grace-oriented under God's ruling hand, that He may exalt you in due time. Super grace. That He may exalt you, lift you up in the proper time, in the right time. And the right time is when you reach gate 5, first of all, and then when you reach gate 8 of the divine power sphere. And between, as you're passing tests, between gate 5 and gate 8, you are being exalted little by little, according to your capacity. Humility is a mandate. It is not an option. If a believer wants to advance on the plan of God, he must become humble, grace-oriented. And part of humility is recognizing that He does the promoting, not you. The problem with humanity is that we cannot receive achievements or accomplish achievements without becoming arrogant about them. We say, I made my first million by the age of 30. I have my own house at the age of 25, and this and that. Those are achievements to some of these young people. And what is the natural consequence of that with reference to their mental attitude? Arrogance. They become very arrogant about it. So us humans cannot receive achievements without becoming arrogant. But in the plan of God is we have to acknowledge that He does the promoting. You're not promoted until He promotes you. That requires humility. And so, don't get ahead of yourself. Don't try to take several steps and say, I want to be in super grace already. God, you know what? I'm going to do this and do that. No. You relax with humility and understand that He's the one that does the promotion. He's omniscient and He knows the right time. So, that's 1 Peter chapter 5. Okay, we do that. And then, recognizing the fact that God promotes the believer as he advances in the divine power sphere, produces relaxation. It produces happiness. Humility is the basis of real happiness. For humility relaxes, acknowledges things that can be worked out and things that cannot be worked out. And so you just relax and allow God to work. That is the beginning of contentment, happiness. Luke chapter 14, verse 11 says, For all those who exalt themselves, this is arrogance inside of the cosmic system, cosmic 1, gate 1, which is arrogance. And you're on your way to gate 2, gate 3, gate 4, gate 5, and all these different interlaced arrogances. Those who exalt themselves will be humbled. This could be translated as humility, because it's your self-induced misery. It is divine discipline. But those who humble themselves, this is function inside the divine power sphere, beginning at gate 1 with the relaxed mental attitude, advancement all the way to gate 3, which is enforced and genuine humility, virtue towards authority. Those who humble themselves will be exalted, super grace, gate 5 all the way to gate 8. And that's Luke chapter 14, verse 11. So, humility is a system of thinking which orients to everything in life, especially orients to the grace of God as God's grace policy. Arrogance, on the other hand, orients everything in life to himself. An arrogant person cannot hear anything about something, he just relates it to himself and to himself, to himself. What about those arrogant people that cannot have a conversation? And you ask, hey, how you doing? And he says, oh, I did not get in much sleep. And then he says, I didn't either. And everything is, I didn't do this, I do that. An arrogant person orients everything to himself. Therefore, without humility, there is no basis for virtue. Humility becomes the foundation of all virtue. It is the foundation for all happiness. Humility is the basic ingredient for capacity for love, happiness, blessing, Christian service, for only humility keeps the grace perspective of life. Humility is the basis for gratitude. Arrogance has no gratitude. They might make the right noises of thank you, oh thank you, thank you, thank you, sir, thank you, but real gratitude is based on humility. An arrogant person can say thank you. Don't think that just because a person with a little smiley face, very sweet, says thank you, or anything like that, that does not mean a damn thing. So humility is the basis for gratitude.